Hello and welcome to this video series in which I'll show you how to use Postman to interface with Aruba Central's APIs. Postman is a very advanced and powerful tool with which you can design, mock and test APIs amongst other things, but it's also an API client which takes away some of the grunt work required when accessing APIs via Python, for example. But before I go into that, let's first go into Aruba Central and look at the API options there. Aruba Central's API gateway is located under the account home, API gateway. And here under the documentation section, if we click on that, we get taken there. This is a sort of library for API endpoints that you can use to configure your central deployment. And as you can see, there are a lot of API endpoints that you can use in order to accomplish this. The endpoints are divided into groups here, and you can select various groups of API endpoints. You can use this front end to configure your central deployment, but in reality you wouldn't use it for your automation work as it's simply not built for this. But nevertheless, I will show you how to use this interface as it will help you find required endpoints that you might be using in your automation work. So let's get into an example. Let's, for example, get a list of all groups I have defined in my central, then add a group, and then also delete that group from the repository. If we go back to our network operations screen, here you can see I have 3 groups defined. Actually, there are 4. There's also the undefined group, and there's group 1, group 2, and the default group. So in order to get all of those groups, we need to find an API endpoint through which we can accomplish this. So now if we go back to API gateway, we can find the required endpoint, and we can find it under configuration. And here you see we have all the groups endpoints, and we can try and get all the groups. When we get all the groups, you see this is the endpoint that we need to query, and we need to set the offset, which we set to 0, basically to start at the first group. Here are some responses that we can get back. So these are all failures. So this is where we don't get any useful data back. And if we try this response now, this query now, we get a failure. As you can see, we get a 401 response code, and we see that the access token is missing. Now the access token goes in here, and we need to basically make the access token first. We make the access token from the API gateway itself. If we click on this menu, we can add a token. We can name it Postman for now because we're going to use it later for Postman as well. And we select here network operations, and we can generate it. Now the access token is here, and we have to download this token. Let's make it a bit smaller. So you can see the access token is in here. If we copy this out now and paste it in here and hit the little arrow button, this page will refresh. And now if we add the offset 0 here again and we try this, we now get a response 200, and we get all our groups here. Now in the same way, we can now create a group because we have a token here. And as you can see, we need to post to this endpoint. And here we have the schema that we need to send in our request. So if we just click on here, this will get populated here, and we can name it group 3, and let's not make it a template group, and make this false, and also this false. And now we can try this, and as you can see, we get a 201 response, which is good, and the group has been created. If we go back to our network operations page, here you can see that we've just created group 3. And also in the same sense, we can delete an existing group. Let me just name it, just give it a name, and then we can delete that group. And we get a response code 200, which is good, and we have successfully deleted this group. And here, if we refresh this page, group 3 is now gone. So that's how you do it through the API gateway of Aruba Central. And now we can try to do the same in Postman. So in Postman, there are a couple of things that we need to do, or I suggest you do. First of all, I suggest you start a new collection, call it Aruba Central. Give it a description if you want, but I'm not going to give it at the moment. And here, in this collection, add a request. Just call it get groups. And now this request has been created. So here we have a get request, and we need to figure out the URL to use. So here, previously, when we got all the groups, this provided us with the endpoint that I'm going to copy out. If I go to Postman, I input this. As you can see, Postman already pre-populated our parameter values here, and you can change those values down below here, and they will automatically update here. So let's leave it like that for now. Now if we try this, this will again fail, and we get the same response as we did before because we didn't send the access token with our request. And if we look at the access token again here, we can see that the token type is bearer. So in order for this to work in Postman, we go to headers and we add a header of authorization, and we type in here bearer, and we copy in this token. And now we see our response. Now remember to save your request. This saves all this data that we've inputted here, and now simply duplicate your request. We can rename it. We call it create group. We change this to post. So in order to create the group, the endpoint is this without the end parameter, so we get rid of the end parameters. Now if we save this, this changes to post here. In order to create a group, we need to paste in a body, and we go back here where we created a group. We can simply copy this body out, paste it in here. We're going to create group 3 as before. Let's save this and then click send. And as you can see, the response is 201 as before, and the group has been created. Now if we look at Aruba Central, select groups, we have 3 groups here now. And now for the final step as before, let's delete group 3 and let me hit to save again and duplicate this request. The request will change a bit. So in order to delete an existing group, this is the endpoint. Which we copy here. And we finish off with a group name, which would be group 3. And we get rid of the body. The headers still have the bear in them. And if we send this now, it will fail because I selected the wrong method. It needs to be delete. And we can send it again. And now the group has been deleted, which we can verify by refreshing this page. So group 3 is now no more here. So before we finish off this video, there are 2 things I wanted to show you. One thing is that you have to understand that the access token has a lifetime of 2 hours. And I've skipped ahead more than 2 hours now. And this token will not be valid. So if you wanted to create a group as we did before with the same access token, we will get a failure. A 401 unauthorized access because the access token is invalid or has expired, which it says here. And we'll be dealing with that in the next video. The other thing I wanted to show you was a quick Postman tip. We can get rid of this authorization header if we create a folder and just call it groups. And if we move our requests in there now, we can copy out the token and edit this group and select bearer token here. And we just copy in the token. And now we see our requests are in there, and each of the requests has this yellow band next to the authorization part. And what we can do, we can delete this part from each of the requests. Let's just save them all. And if we run a request, we have the token sent with our request, but the access token has been expired or is not valid anymore. And as I said, we're going to deal with that in the next video. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.